The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Riv after a holiday. Hope everyone had a good Patriots Day. And but again, we have a ton of stuff to do because, you know, we've had a day off and things just hell's a popping. And CJ's saying, okay, these are the people who pull papers.
So far, yep.
But before we get to that, I just got something in from one of our men on the street. Current situation at Locust and Oak Grove Avenue. There's a geyser.
Well, it's the wonderful pipes we have in the city.
That's it. That's it. But remember, just keep paying your water bill because the city doesn't have to.
That's Locust and Oak Grove Avenue?
That's what it says.
Oh, they're also doing piping work down there.
Well, that's probably why.
They've got the bypass pipes on the sidewalks.
Mm-hmm.
They've got all of those on there. So maybe it's one of the bypass pipes they cracked open.
That's a lot of water for a bypass pipe, though. I don't know. Let me see if I can get that thing a little larger. I don't see any bypass, but it could. I don't know. Well, you know, there's a lot of water, so stay away from that area. And of course,
the street's closed, actually.
We always start our show with a little bit of, you know, the crime. Elizabeth Mary, who posts a lot, 50 Red South Main, male on the ground with blood on his face and neck, possible assault victim. But who cares? Don't worry about it because crime is irrelevant in Fall River, right? There's no, these people, they're supposed to call me yesterday, they're calling me today. I'm telling you. So, yeah, nobody worries about crime. Nobody worries about anything which segues us in, well, we might as well hit this thing. Declared candidates so far are Mayor Paul E. Coogan. That must be for EFIS. C. Samuel Sutter. I think that's for Clifford. Michael J. Vandal. Jordan James Sylvia. These guys, some of these guys like initials and middle names.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Gabriel Amaral.
Otherwise known as Boomer Amaral.
Yes. City Council, yeah. Linda M. Pereira, Paul B. Hart, David B. Sullivan, Bradford L. Kilby. Wow. Whew. That's like Tammany Hall.
Mm-hmm.
It's like leading a list of Tammany Hall.
I know.
Bob Pearson, Jordan James Sylvia, again running for two. Gabriel Amaral running for two positions. I guess ultimately he can't. Andrew J. Raposa, Gloria Sadler, Joseph Salvador. That's a new name.
That's a new name, yes.
Yeah, we have to check into him. Matthew B. Springer and Ricky Tith. So we know them. Colin R. Dias.
That's on the school committee. Yep.
Shelley Ann Pereira, Charles M. Chase Jr., Sarah O. Rodriguez, Warren A. Alves. That's so far. But you know, while we talk about this, and we can get into something we've got to really kind of talk about. The propaganda campaign has begun.
Yes.
We've seen a few articles that are totally, I mean, they're actually ridiculous. You want this?
Nope, I've got mine.
You know, it's time for everybody, all the Paulie partisans, to begin to build a false narrative about what a great guy he is and what a great job he's doing, even though he's done nothing in 3.5 years. Crime, for example. Have we heard anything? And while we're on crime, that's why I brought a few little aids here. Crime. Family plans to sue for fatal shooting of Anthony Hardin.
Yep, that's been going on for a little while.
The other federal case is coming up, too. Mm-hmm. I didn't download that one because...
That's,
yeah.
Whore.
Yeah, because actually all I got today from some of our sources was a picture of Jazel standing at a podium with, I guess, some police officers, maybe wishing for a time when we didn't have, we had a mayor who actually did something, even though he did some bad things. At least he paid attention. But this guy has done, look, he's done nothing for crime. He does what he always does. He says, oh, I don't have any bullet holes in my house. I don't care. It's not that big a deal. And I look at this city council candidate race. This is, you know,
they're retreads.
when I look at this, it reminds me of something that's very germane to why this city is the way it is. And these people pay attention, please. This city has always been run by the elitists, whether it was the Braytons, the Durfees, anybody else of that bilk, or our council. The majority of our council has always been made up by people who live in the North End, who live in single family.
It's always the North End.
Always the North End, always, and they live in single family houses and they're affluent and they don't care. That's why they like Paul.
Right.
Because they say, get rid of the poor people.
Right.
We don't want them anyway. We don't like them. And it goes back to the 1850s and my Labor's Untold Story when I talk about the people that had to go dig clams to survive and steal wood while they live in shacks. The people, the elitists in the Highlands, didn't care about them either. And now we got a whole bunch of them. I look, for the life of me, I don't know what Dave Sullivan is doing back in this game.
Like I said, retreads.
Yeah, retread. He not only retread, city councilor, state rep, and then he got a political job.
Yep.
Another politician.
Director of the Housing Authority.
Director of the Housing, which we was totally unqualified before, and we said it on this show. So don't say we're saying something we never said before. When he got that appointment, and I know Dave, and we look at him hot. What did Hart say about the issues that are being covered up? This is another guy. He's the champion of everybody. These articles are amazing. How about the assault that happened in the school?
Right.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Crickets. It is alleged that they even changed the individual's name,
Right.
To protect him.
Right.
And we've also been told that because we mentioned it, they're gone now, as is the head of security.
Right.
But there's there's a new angle to this. See, we keep hearing these allegations, and we will present them as allegations. But there's an allegation that the female in this tryst, this inappropriate, because somebody actually responded to somebody online and said, "Oh, what do you complain about? Two consenting adults." Well, they did it on school property. That's the allegation.
Well, somebody had a christening in New Jersey.
And it's like, really? So it's okay for the teachers to do the nasty in the closets in between classes? Is that okay with you? I don't know. It's not okay with me. Have a little professionalism. Maybe, in spite of another propaganda piece that was written, the Herculean effort that Paul has done with the schools, which is nothing. We're 335th out of 351 cities and towns. Herculean effort is not defined by school buildings and electric buses. And by the way, while we're in electric buses, we don't even have buses.
That's right.
And I want to know where these is Paul going to create a whole new department and put more of his friends to work?
Well, here's the
with
thing.
the electric buses?
This grant money is supposed to cover 11 buses. But Paul decided to go with 10 because he wanted the money for that 11th bus to go towards recharging stations. Now,
For who?
that's what we want to know. We're going to have 10 electric buses. Are we going to give them to the vendors? Are we going to keep them within our own school department and hire bus drivers and
more jobs for Paulie's
Right,
friends?
exactly.
I'm going with that option.
Yeah.
I'm going with option B.
Yeah,
I'm going with option B.
Why do we need school buses? Why do we need electric buses? What is to be gained by this? So again, this is one of those things that Paul does that is useless to the people of
No,
Fall
no,
River.
but it's optics. For
Yes, I
it's
know.
optics for the election. Just like now, all these articles that are coming out. It's more jobs for his friends,
Right.
number one, and it's optics. So what has he done in 3.5 years for crime? Nothing. What has he done for drug addiction? Nothing. What has he done for anything? Education, we're still 335th. This is a guy that thinks that that everything has nothing to do with merit. It's just got to do with the optic of it. He thought, remember they thought that they actually said it too at a few meetings we went to, that a new school would help education. Last time I checked, the building didn't teach anybody, and we've proved it because we're still 335th.
Right.
Okay. And now he's saying, electric buses is going to somehow, and remember, and there was an article by Mary Feidelberg, who, it's mind-boggling because she's opposed to everything down at the commuter rail, but she loves Paul for some reason. I don't know what he did for her. I think she worded it, it was a Herculean effort on his part for businesses and the school department. Well, number one, Mary, you got a lot of facts. You do a lot of research, but let's do a little research into one of your friends. We're 335th. Do you notice since Paul Coogan, a man who spent his entire life in the Fall River School Department, nobody, neither him, Paul Hart, anybody on the school committee, ever talks about the attainment levels of students now? That subject is never discussed. They
Right,
talk about everything but the fact that we still have a severely underperforming, no matter how much money they throw at it, no matter how many fancy buildings, no matter how many electric buses, our children are being left behind. And for your information, Mary, the guy that you are giving so many bouquets and kudos at, he was quoted as saying the reason that we have poor academic achievement is because we have too many minorities.
Right.
And that is on the record. Now, really? So minorities are stupid? Well, they will be stupid and
If they
stay
attend the
stupid
Fall River Public
if
School
they
System.
attend the Fall River Public School System. Isn't it your job? Wasn't it your job when you were in a school department and when you were on a school committee, and now that you're mayor and the ex officio chairman of the school department, isn't it your job to educate these people, to educate these poor people? They're not fortunate enough to have two parents who graduated from college and can send them to a private grammar school to prepare them and send them to your public high school is supposed to be able to give the average person an education to allow them to make their life better. But instead, what do you always do? You blame people. Oh, the minorities, they're inherently stupid, I guess. But if they don't like it, they can go jump in a Taunton River. If they don't have a house, they don't have a right to speak. So all these issues that you've ignored for 3.5 years, now they're throwing these pieces out. They had one from the Harvard publication.
Phoenix Rising.
The Phoenix Rising. And who was the people who were talking about Coogan? Patrick Norton.
Patrick Norton.
A guy who never got a job that daddy
Patty
didn't give him.
Rigo.
Yeah. And didn't he get APA money?
Yep.
Oh, wow. APA money. And speaking of money, there's a lot of allegations of hush money. Somebody is saying that the female involved in the tryst was told, she could be fired, but if she shuts her mouth, they might give her a few bucks and let her keep her job.
Right.
And then along another one has surfaced again, and I will say this is an allegation, an NDA, of course, non-disclosure.
Non-disclosure agreement.
And the former auditor was supposedly, allegedly told, we will fire you, because she was complaining about how catastrophic the city is.
Right.
We'll fire you, but if you resign and keep your mouth shut and file it and get an NDA, we'll give you $20,000 in severance. That's the allegation. I don't know if it's true. But John Perry, the same way. He just
Right.
disappeared.
Right.
You know, and there was allegations about that. So what we have is corruptness. But, you know, I got to bring out something. You see this little logo? I always get backwards. The cameras are backwards. You see our little logo? It's been there for 12 years. You see that little scale? Well, these are the things I brought originally 12 years ago.
On our first show.
On our first show. Okay, let's put it over here so you can see it, because you got me on camera. I don't know. Okay, there's the skull, and here's the the skull's even sicker. Fall River, he's turning around. Okay, and the scale. Well, this is a very appropriate prop, because this is what they use the average people in Fall River for. The elitists, the people. An article also said, Mary Fowler, what he's done for business. What has he done for business? Have you walked up Pleasant Street lately, Mary? I don't think so. Have you walked down South Main Street much? Where's all the businesses? The only businesses he's taken care of are the people who are making money from the rail that you hate so much. So it doesn't make any sense except you like them. And so, and again, we have this propaganda machine, but the worst one was when he was called the champion of the homeless and the addicted.
Oh, yeah. The homeless, let's take their homes away from them.
Yeah, let's confiscate their tents. Now it's election year, all about we got them showers. I'm going to give them money. I'm paying them money. Listen, show me something that he's paid attention to in his first 3.5 years in office. Matter of fact, the Herald News did such a good job on it. I found this online. I may be putting in for this. The writer of that article, we know it was. This is an application form for the Joseph Goebbels Award for Propaganda Excellence. Now, in case you don't know who Joseph Goebbels is, Joseph in German, that's what he was the propaganda minister for the Nazi Party and for Adolf Hitler from 1933 to 1945, to the end of the war. And Goebbels is most famous for this quote, which really wasn't a quote, it was a paraphrase of what Hitler said in his book, Mein Kampf. And a lot of people don't know what Mein Kampf is. Mein, they can figure it out, it's pretty like my. Kampf means struggle. It was Hitler's book about how he struggled with how Germany was just destroyed by their own government and the corrupt government.
Oh, you mean like Fall River's doing?
Kind of, yeah. So Goebbels, Goebbels said what Hitler said in a sentence, but he said, and he's attributed the quote, he said, if you tell a big enough lie often enough, people will ultimately believe it, begin to believe it. And that's the way the Nazis did it. They did it with the Jews, with the caricatures and all that, the speech about them. But now what we have is we have the reverse propaganda. Now they're making Paul the second coming of Christ, the Mother Teresa. And you said the homeless, he's crapped all over the homeless.
That's right.
Ignored them, crapped all over them. And as far as the addicted, really? What program has he put forth to help addiction?
As a matter of fact...
he opposed the expansion of STAR.
Right, and the interesting thing is that Jean...
Yes.
St. Pierre...
Proposed something, yeah.
Proposed a program to the mayor, one that's been successful in other communities, and... Puff, puff, go away, puff,
Listen,
puff, puff.
Yeah, well, look, you know my position. I think that, I kind of agreed without allowing STAR to expand because I think we need to share the wealth in other communities.
Exactly.
The Newtons and the Wellesley should have some of these clinics and their stuff. We should have one too. But we should also have, and we come to that, I have another little ditty here because I get them all to get, okay. Here's another one. Like the print's kind of small. The picture didn't because it came out. But this is Addiction Recovery Home sues Fall River for alleged housing violation. So listen, this is all BS. If you believe that, I mean, listen, that, Goebbels and Adolf had their Schutzstaffel, which is the SS, but the SS is the Schutzstaffel, and, or Schutzstaff to them, they used to shorten it up, SS. But they had their SS, but he's got his FF, for the people. They don't care about anybody but the rich people. But now they're trying to spin it. Now all of a sudden, look, don't just say he's paying attention after three and a half years. But don't ever put that in the article that he's totally ignored, like housing, affordable housing. All of these things, and it's not even with his money. His buddy Alconclaw sent them down to buses.
Yep.
And I know you crucified him in the flush, and they were not real happy. I heard about your flush because you beat them senseless with the facts. But the fact is, listen, I don't want to hear anything about education from Paul Coogan or any of his friends. That school is nothing more than an edifice to their dysfunctionalness and their inability to do what that is supposed to do, educate children. We have a school committee and a mayor that haven't talked about our educational. How much have we heard about where we are in the state, that all our schools are underperforming, all of them barely. And I think Nelson presented those facts at a school committee meeting, and the superintendent agreed. Mm-hmm. Do you think that some of these clowns that have already put in for re-election, you think some of these clowns should at one point in their career, before they ask for another pay raise, you think at one time somebody should say, oh crap, we're on a school committee and our schools suck?
Right.
They're not going to say that. They're not going to say that. Let's give out some more jobs. Let Paul reorganize everything. You shut up. You can't ask questions. Just do everything Paul says, and everything's going to be hunky-dory. Remember, Paul was in the system for 30 years. Paul was a school committee for a couple terms. Paul's the mayor. Remember, shut up and do what Paul does, and then you'll get something too, like all Paul's friends do. But you know what we're doing in the interim? This is what we're turning our school children into. Skeletons. You ruin their life. And education and a thirst for knowledge is the fundamental foundation for people to achieve in life. And you're denying our children. Nobody has talked since Paul Coogan walked into the 6th floor, has talked about where we stand, except the general public. What's happened with the rapes or attempted rapes, the gropings, doing the nasty? Not a word.
How about the violations of civil rights?
Right.
How about...
Oh, yeah, Malone. Yeah.
Forgot all about Malone, and Paul was involved in that.
That's right.
And they wanted to cover that up, too.
They did.
Yeah, that's right.
They didn't want to.
They did.
They did.
That's right.
Yeah,
We still don't know what happened.
Everything in his city since he's been in, and he ran on transparency,
Right.
by the way. Nobody knows anything about anything. What happened in the DCM with Perry, what happened in the school. But what we do know is there's all kinds of lawsuits. Here's a demonstration with them suing. You got the other lawsuits going on. How many lawsuits? Does the school committee ever go public? Because they're supposed to, and tell us how many lawsuits are pending and what the amounts are pending for Malone, for his sexual harassment, for his ignoring the American with Disabilities Act and the AIDS Discrimination Act?
That's right.
No, we don't know about that. Shut up. Keep paying your taxes. We'll increase your water bill. We'll increase your taxes, and you get nothing. but we're gonna, now it's election time, and they're gonna pull a Goebbels. Shame on you, Joe, for writing that article and using those adjectives and using some of these. No, I mean, you got to pull out. So, don't use them. The sesquipedalian words don't work on most Fall Riverites because, number one, they don't read that rag. You got about 3,000 subscribers now, and that's why. Because they know you're full of crap. You write stuff like this. You're going to say that he's the champion? The champion? I still got the art when he took the tents away. We've still got that stuff. We've got all of it. We've got him saying, go jump in the Taunton River. Shut up. Don't do this. Well, you don't like it here, move out of Fall River. Oh, yeah, he's a mayor for all of Fall River for sure. He's a mayor for the North End, and he's got all his pals running again.
That's right.
So we can have the North End. And I thought I would never say this in my life. Just like I never thought I'd be in favor of term limits, but apparently the voters just can't get their lazy butts to the polls, and hopefully they will this time. But I am now in favor of ward councilors.
Yeah.
That's the only way we're going to have the entire city represented, instead of having a council of elitists that disinflation. And this morning I heard that we are going to have another massive, the inflation is not going away for a long time. But you know something? Most of the people with their butts in the seats at the city council don't really care, because where are they from? The North End. They all got nice jobs, nice paychecks, and they don't care because they are insulated. We need somebody that's going to represent not just the people of Fall River, but the majority of people in Fall River who are not living in the North End and who are scratching their butt to make a living. And it's up to you. Come on, put your names in, run, and hold their feet to the fire. And by all means, make sure you vote in this upcoming election, because this, if not, right now what you're doing, you're being used as a pawn. The people in this city are just being moved around like pawns on a chessboard. Hey, sacrifice that pawn. Sacrifice that pawn. Mm-hmm. Because leave Paul Coogan in for another term, and this is what you're all going to look like. He's got nice teeth, though. Okay.
Well, the thing is that when we look at these names running for office, go down the line. City Council, Linda Pereira, 20-plus years on the council. Paul Hart, he's been on the council before, and on the school committee. And on the school committee, he's done nothing.
Yeah.
He sat there as the vice chair and did nothing. David Sullivan, been on the school committee before, been on the city council before, been a state rep, been the director of the housing authority. Brad Kilby, how many?
Enough said.
Enough said, yeah. Okay, then you go down, Andrew Raposa's very new, okay, one term so far, and really hasn't done a whole hell of a lot for the people.
Less than spectacular.
Yeah, less than spectacular performance. Okay, and then you got Ricky Teeth, who's running again. Hasn't run, he hasn't won an election at all. And personally, I wouldn't endorse him. And personally, I wouldn't endorse Linda. I wouldn't endorse Paul. I wouldn't endorse David Sullivan. I wouldn't endorse Brad Kilby, because they are part of the problem. They are not part of the solution. Linda has always said, I always represent the people. I'm going to tell them I can't vote for this water increase because we can't afford it. And then she always votes for it. She's a flip-flop all the time. We need better than that. We need much better than that. And there are some new people running in the school committee race. I think all the new people should get in, and all the current existing school committee members should be tossed on their side. Same thing with existing city councilors, tossed on their side, except for Michelle.
That's right.
Except for Michelle, because
all the new ones get a check mark from me. Yep. That's for sure.
And that's what we need.
And so does Michelle.
No incumbents. No incumbents. Well, I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Friday. Thanks for watching.